Got a quick update for you guys on the Vic Mignogna litigation. Dallas News. I know, not our favorite source, but it is what it is. Apparently they have information that is not really surfacing yet, but now we can start spreading that. Dallas News is reporting that Judge Chupp is calling for both sides of this litigation to mediate. So let's take a look at the official statement, and then we'll speculate on what that might entail for the future of this litigation and if the mediation goes well or not. So let's take a look. They say Chupp also handed out some of the threats of violence against him and others that were referred to him by the Fort Worth Police Department after his September 6th hearing. Chupp called on both sets of attorneys to refrain from inciting their supporters. So first of all, responding to the nonsense that was going on, there were people who were making very inappropriate claims of action that they were going to take against Chupp for the way that the hearing was handled. Now, those people, we don't know if they're Kick Vic or I Stand With Vic, although I think one of them was looked into quite a bit. But the rest of them, I don't think it's really known if they're Kick Vic or Stand With Vic. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Kick Vic to try to pretend like they're Stand With Vic and do something deplorable to make us look bad. I mean, that's happened before. It literally just happened a few days ago, even, where we had that one user claiming to have leaks from Discord of a post that Marky had made, but then Marky disproved it, and that person then was going full Kick Vic and just being insane. That sort of thing could be happening again and again and again now with Judge Chupp, people pretending to be I Stand With Vic to make us look bad. But there could also be real Stand With Vic people that are making mistakes and doing things like that. I don't know. It's not a good look, but here's where we're at now. Let's continue reading. Chupp called on both sets of attorneys to refrain from inciting their supporters. This case is the first big test of the MT movement in the multi-million-dollar anime industry. In this instance, Mignogna is digging in and fighting back in court. Given the high-stakes issues in play, it's troubling that the case has turned into a circus. As one of the defense lawyers, you know what? Before we talk about that, let's talk about the circus thing. She says, given the high-stakes issues in play, it's troubling that the case has turned into a circus. This whole thing has been a circus from the beginning. There wasn't even a case in the beginning. It was just a Twitter mob going after a man with absolutely no evidence, only hearsay, and some of the evidence that they finally gave us was fabricated. You had things like the fake swatting attempt, and then you had fake evidence and community festival, like things like this, man. This whole Kick Vic movement has been a circus from the beginning. It has been so poorly handled, and that's why so many of us have taken the side of I Stand With Vic or taken the side of Kick Vic and ended up neutral or even going to I Stand With Vic because of how much of a circus it's been. The Kick Vic side does not seem to take this seriously. I'm going to sound like a broken record now that people have been watching my videos all these months, but, you know, we've seen things like them memeing the legal process, joking around about being served, delaying discovery, just playing around in so many different ways. So this whole thing has been a circus from the beginning, even before actual litigation was even involved, in my opinion. Anyways, continues to read, as one of the defense lawyers, Andrea Perez, told me earlier this summer, this case is something I wake up thinking about, and it's the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. I, too, being a woman and a woman lawyer, this hit me particularly hard because I have experience, too. I know there is too often silence, so to be able to support and help get women out there to talk about why they have been going through this is so important to me. So that's not really new information. You said that was from earlier in the summer, so it's not even really that relevant. Let me see if there's any other screenshots here. So we got this. Take a look at this. On September 17th, 11 days after the hearing, Chupp called attorneys for both sides to his courtroom and ordered them to mediate by October 3rd. If mediation is not successful, he told the lawyers he would rule on all outstanding orders the following day. Now, that's interesting to me. That seems like... Actually, no, hold up. Because the hearing was on the 6th, right? If I recall, September 6th. And Chupp would have 30 days to rule after that. So he wants them to mediate by October 3rd, and then he'll make his decision depending on how the mediation goes. That's what it sounds like. So this is really interesting. Chupp actually ordering a mediation. That could go either way, of course. I mean, a mediation could be beneficial to both sides here. It could. We could see some sort of settlement, maybe. Now, we don't know if the mediation is, we don't know how thorough the mediation is going to be. Is it just going to be a mediation to try to get both parties to talk to their respective sides and get the vitriolic responses to simmer down, so to speak? Maybe we'll see that. I'll just like to mention right now, for example, Vic Mignogna has a fan group called the Reasonable Rangers. I have yet to see any prominent member of the Reasonable Rangers, any moderators or people running that group, do anything vitrolic. However, if you take a look at one of Monica's moderators, BT, you go to this Twitter page, you can see on a daily basis, pretty much, this guy is throwing insults and inciting intolerance, inciting that sort of thing, coming from one of Monica's moderators. So I do personally think one side is certainly doing this a lot more than the other. I certainly do feel that's the case. But we'll see. So the mediation, it might be something that simple, just trying to see how they can move forward while keeping both respective sides somewhat simmered down. Even though that's kind of a ridiculous thing for me to even say when we know what we know about how both sides have been handling things or not handling things, you know what I'm getting at. Or on the greater end, perhaps this mediation could end up in a full settlement. Perhaps they could settle. I don't know. It's pretty vague what exactly this mediation will be, if it's on just the situation or the whole litigation. So very well, we might see that on October 3rd, we get news that the parties have settled. I think that's going to be really unlikely because I really don't think the defendants want to settle. I mean, they haven't tried mediating as far as I understand yet. And if I recall, we had seen some tweets from the defendant side saying that they had no interest in mediating or something like that. I could be wrong about that. I forget who said that or if it even happened. But I do think I remember one of the defendants' parties mentioning that they had no interest in settling or mediating anything. I could be wrong about that, though. I don't know. So we'll see, man. It could be really interesting to see how this plays out if they indeed settle. I mean, that could work for Vic, and it could work out for the defendants as well. Cut the costs and move forward. Vic recoups some of his loss of, some of his damages. He recoups some of that. The defendants cut their losses before they incur more legal fees and more damage to their reputation, this is actually really ironic. So Vic is suing, in part for damages to his reputation, defamation per se, etc. The defendants also have damages to their reputation, but it's entirely on them, in my opinion. I'm using damages kind of loosely here, but you guys see what I'm getting at. The defendants, through their actions, have hurt their own reputations. Fans that they've had are leaving. Fans that they've had no longer support them anymore. Not all of them, of course. I'm being a bit hyperbolic here. But a number of fans that had previously supported those VAs seem like they're no longer doing it anymore. So it's quite interesting. We'll see. All in all, I have to admit, it's unfortunate that I had to rely on Dallas news for this, but I'll give credit where credit's due. Sharon did have the news sooner than anyone else, it seemed, on this one. So I'll give her credit. Sharon, good job reporting on at least this. I don't want to say good job reporting on it, but good job getting the information and getting it out there. As far as I see, it was before anyone else. So listen, guys, I'm not against giving praise to the other side, if that's the way you want to look at it. I don't know if it's necessarily praise, but I'll commend her for getting that information out there. And it helps me get that information out to you guys now. So take it with a grain of salt. Of course, I think that that site is very biased. I think the Dallas, especially articles from Sharon, in my opinion, are very biased. So take it with a grain of salt, if you will. But to be fair, that's why I didn't want to read the whole article. A lot of the article's the same. It's just the update with that new update. I know it's a bit redundant. So, I mean, what we looked at here today, it's nothing too biased, to be fair. I mean, we have information about a mediation on October 3rd, and Chupp acknowledges that he wants these two sides to try to mediate that. If it's not successful, he will then rule on the outstanding orders. I guess that would be the causes of action that are still on the table. I'm assuming that's what that means, outstanding orders. So we'll see. What's curious is before the hearing, the final decision, I wonder if there can be any motions to reconsider. And if there can be motions to reconsider through that time, I wonder how that will affect the potential mediation that they will be having. So that's interesting to think of, too. And the final thing to take note of is how Chupp apparently did inform the Fort Worth Police Department about these, I'm just saying claims against him, but they weren't really claims. There's a better word for that. I'm just got to be a little careful here on the platform. You guys know how it is. All in all, I think that's it for this video. Some other things I want to report on today, so I'm going to cut this before it gets too rambly. We got the news out there. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. For the HGS video yesterday, shouts out to the anime guy, Striker Red, the True Redemption, Chaotic Keyblade, the Lancaster Kid, Coden X, Fritz VA, Random Fandom, Christopher Arnold, Robin Gatomon, Spin Master Rakta, Charza Kitsune, Dusk Wolf, 13th, Honey Badger, thank you for promoting that video on Twitter. And if it was shared elsewhere, I appreciate that. My system just doesn't tell me. So I can only give thanks for Twitter. But it does help when you guys share the videos. Thank you very much for that. I hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, we have some links in the description. Teespring, Patreon, store there. Teespring is this merch store, of course. Patreon, either of those can support the channel if you're interested. Discord server. Actually, I need to update that link, so let me get on that. But in the next video I release today, the link should be updated. That's it for this video, though. I've got another Rooster Teeth video coming out in a few hours. I want to get to work on that. And I'll see you next time. Peace.